Good evening, Laredo. Welcome to another episode of the Texas Border Chronicles. Hi, I'm Jesus Chugarza, your host. This is a community affairs program dedicated to talk about local issues affecting our community with local leaders in our community. We do have, of course, our colleague. Thank you for joining me, Juan Rodriguez.
Glad to be here. George.
Thank you for being here. As you know, the issue of gun violence is a serious matter in our community. And along with the issue of gun violence, we also, Laredo has to deal with the issue, of course, of any spillover violence from Mexico.
Right.
As you know, we had an incident that occurred, not only one incident, had a series of incidents that occurred in Laredo this past week that the U.S. consulate had to even put a warning notice to people from Laredo, or not from people from Laredo, anybody who does business in Laredo or goes to Laredo to be careful or to be aware about the community violence that was occurring. So Laredo has to deal with the issue of spillover violence, and also has to deal with the issue potentially always of the issue of mass shootings in our community. Put together, the issue of border violence is something that our community always has to be aware of. So we're very lucky today to have a couple of good speakers on that issue. But before I do that, I want to let you know we had over 360 mass shootings in the United States this year so far, and we've had several run-ins in Laredo concerning spillover violence. Laredo has to be obviously awake about the issue of violence in our community. And so the issue tonight is going to be the issue of border violence and what our community, our local law enforcement is doing to deal with it. So we will be right back with them, and I think it'll be a very interesting conversation with them.
Disfruta con toda tu familia nuestro Thanksgiving Brunch en el Hotel La Posada. Contaremos con la presentación musical de Javier Richard, estación de omelets, prime rib, pavo tradicional, estación de pastas, pollo poblano, mariscos, múltiples guarniciones y los mejores postres de temporada. Niños menores de 5 años o menos comen gratis. Reserva ahora al 956-753-4424. La Posada, parte de tu familia desde 1961.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Fuentes. Let me show you what my brother and dad can do. They have a lot of experience creating videos that you will enjoy for years to come. As my dad always says, if it's not on video, it didn't happen.
Welcome back to the show. We do have our first speaker, who is actually our Sheriff Martin Cuellar, who had an opportunity. We had an opportunity to talk to him about gun violence in our community, and this is what he had to say.
We can honestly say that we are safe here in Laredo, Texas. Now, I know that there's been some violence over there in Laredo, and we expected it. Before the violence started, we already knew what was going to happen. Why? Because we're always checking and seeing what's going on in Laredo, because it could affect us like it did back in 2007, 2006 and 2007, when we had spillover. Right. That was spillover. Right. Where we had hit men coming to our community and shooting people in plain daylight. That was stopped because of the working relationship that we have with other agencies. Right. Together, we can do more, like I've always said. We have a good working relationship with the Laredo Police Department. We have a very good relationship with Border Patrol. Border Patrol, of course, they're in the front lines of the border. And we work with other agencies, ICE, DEA, with other agencies that matter in securing our community. Fortunately, we haven't had, any shootings here of mass killing, like they have in other states. And we are better trained now. We learn from our mistakes, and I'm talking about from other agencies, even from ours. So a person that's well trained, an officer that's well trained, is going to respond a whole bunch better than someone that's not. So I'm sending people to SWAT team, to the SWAT training. That is very important. Why? Because now on an active shooter, Judge, we don't wait for the SWAT to come in. The police officer is responsible to going in and taking care of the business, because time is of the essence, and we have to go in there. and take care and diffuse the situation. Now, working together with Laredo Police, working together with the school districts, we have done that, and we're ready. We're ready. I hope it never happens. There on McPherson and Hillside.
Right.
We have law enforcement from all entities in that area. We're able to contain it, and we responded. So those are true, practice that we take, and we're all going to work together. We're brother officers. We have police department, we have the sheriff, we have constables, we have other agencies that work together, and we're trying to protect the community as best as we can.
What message do you want to give the community in Laredo concerning their safety and their children's safety on issues on mass shootings?
Well, one, to report any type of suspicious activity. That's very, very important that we do that. We are safe in this community because of the working relationship that we have working with, not only with the local police or with other entities, but also with the Mexican government across. In case something happens, a spillover, we are working with them. We know what's going to happen. Before all the firefights started, Judge, in Laredo, we knew what was going to happen. We knew it. And sure enough, the next day it happened. A police agency, any law enforcement agencies, cannot function without intelligence. And if you do, you're not going to succeed, okay? When I first came into this office, we developed an intelligence unit from the jail division. We have been very successful there. So you can imagine the intelligence community that we have here. And I always have said, being that we're in a border city, we have, it's a two-sided coin. So we look at what's going on here, and we look at what's going on in Laredo or the surrounding states that we border. And we have to have some sort of communications with them. And believe me, I've been doing this for a long time. Since I was in intelligence, 38 years total, but 27 with DPS, 27. So from those, I was assigned as the intelligence lieutenant because of all the contacts that I gathered back then, and were able to keep a pulse in what's going on in Laredo.
Well, it seems like Sheriff Martin Cuellar is pretty involved in this
Pretty much,
issue
definitely on this
here at
issue.
the
That's
border,
something
and
that's going to be, we'll be talking to him in the future. Now, of course, we do have in the studio our Laredo Police Department Chief Claudio Trevino Jr., who's here to talk to us about what the plans are with the city of Laredo as it deals with gun violence in our community.
De parte de todos aquí en Champion Care, feliz Día de Acción de Gracias.
Serious car collisions require personal attention, an attorney who's experienced and can finish the case without referring it out. If you are involved in a serious car collision, call Joey Diaz, because serious car collisions require a serious and effective attorney.
De parte de todos aquí en Champion Care, feliz Día de Acción de Gracias.
Serious car collisions require personal attention, an attorney who's experienced and can finish the case without referring it out. If you are involved in a serious car collision, call Joey Diaz, because serious car collisions require a serious and effective attorney.
Welcome back to the show. We're very fortunate to have, of course, our police chief, Mr. Claudio Trevino Jr. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
No, thank you for making it. I did want to talk to you about a Facebook post that was made about a week ago concerning, I guess it was a repost from the U.S. Consulate. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, we received a call. There's a concern from the community, and there was communication with our mayor. And the concern was that what was going on across the border, there was a lot of communication on social media.
Anxiety.
Exactly. So there was some events that happened across the border, unfortunate events between the cartels and the Mexican military. The U.S. Consulate did post some notices to use caution and going into Nuevo Laredo and visiting. So we just reiterated the message that was sent by them, the U.S. Consulate and the U.S. State Department. In general, they had another posting. So we were making people aware of where they can go to check, where they can get this information prior to traveling. We don't want to alarm them unnecessarily, but we do want to make the public aware of what's going on.
Definitely, because the post came out and some people thought that it was the city of Laredo who had posted that. It didn't post; it was a repost, and you were passing it on for people who do go into Mexico for them to be aware of the circumstances around it. Now, doing that, does that make the Laredo Police Department make any other additional measures to protect its citizenry, or is it pretty much it was isolated to Nuevo Laredo?
Basically, that's what we do. We monitor what's going on there. We have our federal agency, the federal partners that do have presence in Nuevo Laredo, and they have assets over there. So with our intelligence that we receive here locally, what we receive from them, we just take those measures, those cautionary messages, and just repost them and let the public know more information and basically where to look and how to be better informed.
But there was no spillover violence from Nuevo Laredo from this incident.
Absolutely not. And this has been going on across the border for several years now. It's unfortunate. And we continue to monitor, continue working with our local partners, with the sheriff's office. They do have a lot of intel that we do share, we communicate. And that's primarily what we do. We do communicate with our federal law enforcement partners, our local partners, state, also with the DPS. And we just want to keep everybody informed. And when something does happen, believe me, those messages will go promptly out to the public.
Definitely.
It seems like we have to stay alert. We over here at this part of the border, at U.S. Part of the border, and what else we can see after maybe it could be a spillover like back in 2004, 2002.
There were some unfortunate events again that happened back then with some of the violence spilling over, people chasing and people associated with the cartels having criminal activities here in this side of the border. But we haven't seen that. Believe me, when there's any such things that happen, we do take it seriously. We do go after cases that might develop into that. So we're actively looking at the information, but we haven't seen that take place yet, and we will continue to stay on top of those things.
This week we saw a case over here with a young guy that was an intruder at Martin High School.
Yes,
it wasn't that kind of people.
Well, it's criminal activity. It's criminal activity that is taking place on this side of the border with the transportation of illegal drugs that we're seeing that take place. But again, those are cases that are isolated to this side of the border with the transportation of narcotics. The person ditched the car and ended up at Martin High School. We've seen others where they flee across the river, they ditch the cars and flee back into Nuevo Laredo, and we recover the vehicles and the loads. So those cases continue to develop. Border Patrol has those incidents, DPS has those incidents, and the Laredo Police Department. But we work together to...
So you do have a protocol between all law enforcement agencies in situations like this?
Absolutely. And we have joint operations that we work with Border Patrol, with Stone Garden operations that take place daily. Throughout the week, we have numerous operations with the police department, other law enforcement agencies, the sheriff's office, the constables. They're continuously doing those operations as well.
So we're secure?
We're very secure. The numbers show it. We're one of the safest cities in the nation, the safest cities in Texas. If you look at the statistics, we have double-digit reduction in crime over the last 2 years, with homicides showing a reduction of -42 compared to 2009.
Normally, Laredo, unfortunately, has a recording of maybe 14, 15 deaths a year, homicides. And this year, where are you?
Right now, the average is somewhere around 12. We're looking at 6 homicides. We have 2 pending death investigations that we're looking at so far. But we're looking good as far as those numbers go. And it has to do a lot with the communication with the public, with what we're doing with social media and sharing information with the public, listening to what we receive, to stay on top of things, to prevent, not be so reactive, but take some precautionary measures with those that information that we receive from the public as well.
Well, the stats talks by itself.
Yes, the statistics certainly speak for themselves. What we're going to do is we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back with the chief.
De parte de todos aquí en Champion Care, feliz Día de Acción de Gracias.
I'm Sergio Lozano, and your problem is my problem.
De parte de todos aquí en Champion Care, feliz Día de Acción de Gracias.
Thank you for coming back. I did want to talk to you about another issue that affects our community, and that's well, not necessarily our community, but mass shootings or active shooter situations in Laredo. We've been very fortunate. There hasn't been any, but at least in the country, there's been at least 369 cases of mass shootings in the United States this year alone, 4 of which in the last 2 years occurred in Sutherland, Texas, Santa Fe, Odessa, even El Paso. Do you ever, being the chief of police, do you feel a little bit of concern with that issue in Laredo?
Absolutely. It is concerning what's going on around the country. From time to time, I mean, it's getting closer and closer to our city, El Paso, Odessa being the most recent ones and closest ones to Laredo. We stay on top of things. We stay on top of the information that we're receiving. Continue to stay prepared and reaching out to the community to let us know what's going on when they suspect anything that's going to happen, to keep us informed. So we continue to have that
So
approach.
that relationship is very important with the public.
And it is the most important relationship.
Do you think that the city of Laredo, the Laredo Police Department, can handle, God forbid, an incident like this, that you all are ready to handle a situation like this?
I think we are. I think we are training, preparing, equipping our department. But most importantly, we are working together with other law enforcement entities around the city, state, local, federal, and our school police departments are very important in having them included, and also the public, having the public informed, having the public know where to report these things, and always following up those reports that come in. Our local prosecutors are very well capable of working those cases, have been taking those cases very seriously. We've seen in the paper last week, we had one that was on the front page of the newspaper. So we continue to work with the prosecutors to bring these cases and process them through the system.
Talking about weapons, would you tell the parents about what they have at home? How they can store it?
We are in Texas, and there's guns all over. I mean, we have the right to bear arms, and that's something that's very important to understand, that we need to tell our children, keep those weapons away from our children. Train them if you're going to get them to use those weapons, but keep them away from them if they're young. Lock them. There's you can go to Academy and all these stores to buy those safes. We do have gun locks available at the police department. If somebody doesn't have a safe, we can have those gun locks available to them.
The city does have them.
We do have them, so they can call 795-2800, come by the police station, and we can have those gun locks available for free, completely free.
Well, that's very good. You know, another question relating to gun violence is an issue that some people have raised, that maybe the use of military-style weapons may be actually a problem for law enforcement when you're trying to contain an active shooting situation. Absolutely. When they're using high-powered weapons themselves. Is that a problem for you, and is that something where the city or the public should consider?
Well, I mean, from a personal perspective, those type of weapons, the military-style weapons, the high-capacity magazines, they have no business to being out in the public. I mean, when you go out hunting, even if you want to use that military-style AR-15 or AK-47, there's lower-capacity magazines that they can be firing. There's no business to go out hunting with a 50-round, drum magazine to go hunt for rabbit. I mean, it's not necessary. But we do have them out there. It's been allowed. If anything changes, our lawmakers change those laws and allow us to have more discretion on how do we, stop those type.
But for now, I mean, the Laredo Police Department has the capacity to handle situations like that still.
Yes, we do. We were fortunate to get a grant to have those ballistic plates equipped. We have vehicles. Our SWAT team continues to be equipped. We go after grants to get military-style vehicles to be prepared. God forbid we need to put them to use one day. We are prepared to go and stop that threat.
But at the very end, it comes down to the relationship that you have with the community.
Absolutely. The public is our eyes out there. We do have a police force to serve the community, but without the public, that additional set of eyes, those many sets of eyes that are around the city are very important. So we continue to have that line of communication open through social media, directly to 911 if it's an emergency, non-emergency lines if they want to talk about any potential issues. And we do take all those calls serious. We follow them through, and if there's anything that needs to be presented to the DA's office for consultation, we do that, and we have that continuous communication with them.
Well, I want to thank you again, Chief, for being here. I appreciate it. We'll be right back. We'll continue with another guest that we have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Disfruta con toda tu familia nuestro Thanksgiving Brunch en el Hotel La Posada. Contaremos con la presentación musical de Javier Richard, estación de omelets, prime rib, pavo tradicional, estación de pastas, pollo poblano, mariscos, múltiples guarniciones y los mejores postres de temporada. Niños menores de 5 años o menos comen gratis. Reserva ahora al 956-753-4424. La Posada, parte de tu familia desde 1961.
I'm Sergio Lozano, and your problem is my problem.
Welcome back to the show. We do have our guest, our police, Laredo Police Public Information Officer, Mr. Joey Baeza, for being here. Thank you for coming. Of course, we do have our judge here, Judge Nathan Shu, who's here. And thank you, Judge, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the issue again was the border violence, more specifically active shooting in Laredo. 2 years ago, the Laredo Police Department was involved in an active shooting situation down the road here on McPherson Road, where I believe the active shooter shot an officer and was involved with a confrontation with the police department.
Actually shot three officers and wounded 2 others. And so that was probably something that was very an anomaly. We had never had anything that extreme, and hopefully we'll never see anything like that again. But in case, I think if anything, that situation demonstrated the officers were very well focused at containing the danger and isolating the threat. The officers basically went towards the danger, which is what they're trained to do. They isolated the threat and they took care of business. But I think in several different scenarios where we've had officer-involved shootings, they've all come out of it alive, and I think that's greatly. It speaks greatly to the training, and to the character of the officers who take this job on every day.
So those were some of the lessons that you learned, or at least the Laredo Police Department.
Absolutely, and we continue to learn from other such scenarios, like what happened this year in Odessa and El Paso. Many things to learn from those things, and so we take each of these lessons, we try to incorporate them, learn from them, and obviously apply them to our training regimen.
Well, it seems that the Laredo Police Department certainly is very trained on active shooting situations. But the question now goes to whether or not the public is ready, need to understand that it's a new country, it's a new time now that we have to deal with active shooters, to the point that now our children are becoming aware about active shooting and are doing drills in their schools.
It's much like the time I remember my mother talking about, nuclear drills when she was a girl in high school. That was some time ago. But in this particular case, we're talking about anybody who can come into the campus and start firing. And so I'm sure it raises quite a bit of stress and fatigue on the students who are there to learn. And to flourish. Exactly. But it's our job as law enforcement officers to do as much as we can to collaborate with, obviously we do cross-train with our school district police departments all the time. Yes. We go to their campuses and we train active shooter scenarios in these campuses. So there is preparation that's being taken continuous and enhancements in our training regimen.
How does that work with the school districts? Do you tell them what to do there, or are you doing training with them? Or
they're trained just like we are. They're full-time peace officers like we are, and so they're actually trained to go and engage and stop the threat. We basically are there to respond as well, if necessary, depending on what the situation or scenario may be. We are obviously well equipped to take over the situation.
Well, how does that work though now at the school districts? Because I know that you have children at the school districts. How you had have you had a chance to talk to the kids, your kids, about it?
Yes, one of my daughter's school, they actually had the teachers talk to the parents about the actual, school incident shootings, and it got the parents involved. So that's the most important thing. It's the relationship between the parents, the school, and the police. Here in this town, we have a very good relationship with our police officers, our school officers, and as a person in the city, we need to continue that conversation. I know the police officers have a Facebook page that they are constantly updating, and that's very informative, and that's what we need to calm down the fear and the hysteria that anytime some of this thing happens.
That's right. In fact, I think just last week there was the lockdown at the schools when they had it.
There was one just yesterday.
Yeah, there was one.
We had one just yesterday where a person who was trying to elude police actually jumped the fence at one of the local high schools and went into the building. So in that scenario, everybody responded to that and very quickly contained the individual without any real other effects to the campuses or the safety. But we all communicated, we all were effective, and we took care of it.
Well, what do you want to tell the residents of Laredo concerning the issue of security in Laredo?
The city is safe. The city is very safe despite the fact that we're next to a border community, but at the same time, we need their help as well. If you see something, say something. You can report to us through, call us, email us, or even contact us through social media.
Right. Well, there you hear it. We had an opportunity to talk to the sheriff, of course, the chief, and of course you. And it seems to me that the question was asked earlier whether or not we are safe, or in fact all efforts have been made. And it seems that the Laredo Police Department and the Sheriff's Office are doing their best they can considering all the circumstances, and are going to be prepared if in fact we ever have a situation like this in Laredo.
We can only hope.
Yes.
So what I'd like to see is keep the community engaged, have the community continue to trust you, and so that that's how we keep our people safe.
Right. And I did want to make a point in closing that this was not an issue about gun control. At least the episode was not about gun control. Right. It's an issue about the government obligation to secure its community, and that was the only issue we talked about today. There will be another time to talk about gun control, but this was not the issue. I want to thank the sponsors and KGNS for allowing us to be here today. I want to thank you, the viewers, of course, for listening in. Until next weekend, have a blessed weekend. We'll see you then.
Thank you.